What would you say, and you can say this to me, but anybody else that's listening, to the agent who's going on their first pitch and they've never sold a home?
If I'm sitting in front of a seller, I don't sit down and tell them all how many homes I sold this year and how big it was, how big my commission was. No, I focus on them. If somebody asks, I'll tell them. But most people don't ask, just like in training. That's why very, very, very few people ever knew that I wasn't a real estate agent, even though I was training.
But I asked you.
Yeah, you did. You were actually the one and only person I think would ever ask me.
You told me that when I asked you, because I always ask a lot of questions. You're like, you're the only one that's ever asked me that. I just had to know.
Nobody did. I prided myself in a long time that if you ask the right types of questions, if you ask the questions that an agent should ask, people will just assume that you have a bunch of experience.
Right.
Yeah. So
I don't know what possessed me to ask that question, but yeah. Well, I have somebody I'm going to work with, and she was like, well, I see you don't have any listing presentation videos up yet. And I was like, that's because I don't know how to do them yet. I've been making appointments for 5 years.
You said appointments, man.
I know, that's all I know. Past the appointment, I don't know anything, which I literally don't.
Then you'll get to the point where you have a listing and they'll drive your people crazy, including the people I coach, right? Because I don't have a listing presentation.
See, you're one of those smooth operators. I'm too detail oriented. I don't know that I can float like that. You don't have a net sheet or anything? You don't do any of that?
No.
You don't bring your comps or anything?
I will make a not everything there, because there are people that are visual, have to see things. I will run some comps, and I'll do an RPR report.
Okay.
RPR,
yes, I am.
And I'll cut that RPR report down to about 20 pages, and I'll bring that, which has a base kind of a range for pricing on it.
Okay.
And it has comps in it. And then we'll focus on them and talk about them and what they're trying to do and find their pain. And eventually they'll be like, well, can you help us sell our house? Yeah. You're probably wondering what kind of price we're going to put on it. And he goes, yeah, well, I brought some information about that. And then that's what we'll use. The only other thing I bring is I have a couple of small photo albums, little ones that got like maybe 20 pictures a piece in them, of pictures of the houses that we sold. Like just really, you said today, like the pictures, the really good photos. He's a professional photographer. I bring professional pictures of the kitchens and the backyards and stuff. I said, well, here's some of the work that we've done. And you may recognize this house. It's just like, a mile over that way. And so they start to visualize them in our stuff.
Right.
And we go from there. So,
well, let me ask you.
I have a process, put this way. I have a process, a very specific selling process. I just don't have a presentation.
I got you. No, I feel that way about my calls. I don't look at scripts anymore. It's just all internalized. But what would you say, and you can say this to me, but anybody else that's listening, to the agent who's going on their first pitch and they've never sold a home? There's no book of photos you can show, right? And you've got to be honest. What's the value proposition there? I always say to kind of, if you're working with a team, you can talk about the team's success and how you're partnered with these seasoned agents. But what if somebody doesn't have a team? Like, can you just real quick before we wrap up?
And I got to fall back. If I don't have anything, I got to fall back to what I have. I don't have a team, I'm going to fall back to my brokerage, right? Okay. We're a very active brokerage here locally. You may have seen some of our brokerage signs around. I would probably prepare myself in my head a few homes that my brokerage has sold. Right, so maybe be able to throw out an address. Yeah, over there on Carr Street.
Yeah.
My broker sold one right over there the other day, and I would just continue to focus on that, and then I would, as much as possible, reverse that question and get back to talking about them.
Try to take them off. I haven't sold anything, but let me tell you, I will be obsessed with your listing. It will sell because it's my only listing, right? That's what I'll tell them.
Well, I just let them know. That's what I had to do when I first started, because I didn't have a team. And I started with the XP. Nobody ever heard of XP. When I first started with the XP, I was like number 6,000.
Oh, really?
I mean, nobody here had heard about it at all.
Yeah.
No one. Right? Yeah. And so I had to fall back on just the brokerage and what we were doing. And but here's what I found is if you're asking the right types of questions, the vast majority of people will not ask you how many homes you sold. They won't ask you, how many listings you have. The vast majority of people you won't. As you go higher up the food chain, so whatever your kind of mid-level luxury, they start asking more of those types of questions because they've bought and sold homes, and now they're talking about $600,000, $700,000, $900,000. People ask more questions at $900,000 than they do at $200,000.
Yeah, a little bit more discriminating, right?
But yeah, more discriminating. They're just a little bit more savvy. They've done it before,
right?
So they're looking for certain things. It's just confidence and asking them a lot of questions. And when you focus on them, the less they ask you. It's kind of like handling objections before they come up.
Right.
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 So, and that's, I mean, that's just how I would approach it. I mean, there's some other things to it, but I would use whatever data I had, and then I would, you know, do my best not to not answer a question, but redirect that question. Somebody's probably say, well, I mean, how many homes have you sold? Well, I mean, you're asking me that for a reason, though. My guess is you're probably trying to find out what kind of experience we have, you know, et cetera. Is that where that's coming from? Well, yeah. Well, my brokerage, you know, we've sold X number of homes this year. And then that's usually it. And then we just keep going.
So they don't
Sometimes people will call you on it.
Yeah.
Very seldom they don't. Very seldom.
I would be the one to call someone on it. So I'm waiting for someone to call me out on it. No. All you can do is be yourself and be honest. You'll get your opportunity at some point. Someone will give you a chance. So.
I know that the first ones, I'm back in 19 when I first put those first few ones on. I remember when I closed the first one, I was sitting at the closing table. I said, you didn't realize that this was the first listing I ever sold, was it? And they're like mortified. What? I'm like, yeah, that's the first one I ever sold. Because you never asked how many I sold. And they looked at each other. Yeah, we never did. You just sound like you knew what you were talking about.
It's so funny. Well, you're a gifted communicator and you're a gifted salesperson. So you're not your everyday brand new agent. So
we don't want to mislead anybody, you know, at all. But
no, you don't. You want to be.
I've had the same struggles though as a lot of new agents. I mean, there's some things I can do really well.
Yeah.
But you know, I didn't know what I was doing when I first started. Even though I've been around real estate for a long time, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have a whole lot of resources to call on.
Right. You weren't on a team or anything.
I just kind of stumbled through first year. I ended up getting a coach.
Oh, we did?
You got a coach.
Wow.
And I've always had a coach of some kind.
That's why you're so good. Yeah.
I have a coach now. My coach is in Orlando, Florida.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I've always had one. That's part of one reason I like the Club Wealth organization is even though I coach, I also have a coach.
That's good.
And that's how it works. And basically, I coach enough people that pay for my personal coaching. And it's always somebody who's at a higher level.
Right.
So, you know, if we're going to sell X number of homes this year, it's going to be somebody who sold double that. Because I want that person to be close to where I've just come from and working through that stuff, right?
Surround yourself with stronger people so you can grow.
If I can be of assistance to you in any way, you let me know.
I definitely will. I thank you so much for being here. I'm so happy. Everyone knows who trained me, this amazing Mark Benefiel. I was gonna plug your brokerage, but I can put a link down below in case anyone needs to buy a house in Wichita.
All you gotta remember is listwithbenny.com.
That's right, List with Benny, and I'll put a link in below. And if you need some sales training or anything else because you know you were impressed by it today, you can reach out to Mark that way.
I haven't answered any questions. Thanks, Mandy.
Thanks, Mark. Take care.